Algebra, we are day 2 of PO18 function notation. We talked yesterday, kind of an intro to it, what function notation is used for. Who can remind us what function notation is used for? What is it? Yeah, what else is that? Anthony.
It's like a way to identify a relation as a function as well as identifying graphs on the equation.
Could not have said it better myself. It is a way to identify relations as functions, as well as identify or label, I should put the word label, identify, or as well as label graphs on the coordinate plane, okay? And we talked yesterday about, if I'm showing you these relations, it's not very mathematical to say, look at the u, right? No, look at f of x. And you know that the u is f of x because it says f of x equals, and it gives the equation for that particular graph. Look at g of x. You know that g of x is a straight line there, right? Because it's labeled with the g of x. So not only do you know these are functions, but it's also a way to identify them on the coordinate plane. Okay. Then we also talked about, what does it mean if I ask you to find f of -2? The f tells you which graph to look at, right? The f of x graph. And the -2, which variable did that represent? Which variable was I giving you if I asked you to find f of -2? Think back to yesterday. Nolan.
2. Wait, 2, -2.
No, yes, and which variable was I giving you? Was I giving you x or was I giving you y?
Oh, y.
No, other way around.
X.
I was giving you x, right? What we did then was we went to the x-axis here and we made an imaginary vertical line at x equals -2, and we said, where does the f of x graph cross this line, right? Where did they intersect? And so we followed f of x around. No, still not there, still not there, still not there. Boom, right? And so at -2, at x equals -2, we got the y value of 5, okay? And that's what we're going to focus today on, but not on the corner plane, with equations instead, okay? And so this is, we were talking about in the other class how, this is kind of like a new language. Like whenever you are learning vocab terms in science or Spanish or whatever, this is kind of new. So expect a little bit of struggle. Please ask your questions. Okay, please ask your questions. This is a key point. This is going to help you. Okay, when you see this, when you see a letter, could be F, could be G. Sometimes you might see H, right? But a letter followed by a number in parentheses. Find f of 2 when f of x equals 5x minus 4. What this means, you want to solve for y when x equals 2. Okay? Find f of 2 when f of x equals 5x minus 4 means solve for y when x equals 2. And so what we're going to do here, when we say solve for y, where's the y variable in this? I don't think we talked about this yesterday, so maybe I should back up a little bit. Do you remember slope-intercept form from pre-algebra? Who remembers what slope-intercept form is? Yeah. That's what slope is, right? But that equation, slope-intercept form?
Is it y2 minus y1?
That's a formula for finding a slope, but
y equals mx plus b.
yes, y equals mx plus b. And you'll probably notice that a lot of these equations are in that format, right? 5x minus 4, 12x plus 10, -10x plus 18, 6x plus 8. This f of x is really just a fancy way to represent the variable y. Okay? But why do we write y? Well, because what function notation does is it tells us this is a function, and it tells us what equation we should be using. Okay? If both of these down here just said y equals x squared minus 5 or y equals 12x plus 10, you wouldn't know which equation to plug the variable into, right? But by using f of x or g of x and f of 4, f of -3, g of 6, g of 0, it tells you which equation we are using. But really, all f of x represents is the variable y. So, find f of 2 when f of x equals 5x minus 4 means solve for y when x equals 2. If you have the equation f of x equals 5x minus 4, which is really the same as y equals 5x minus 4, you want to solve for y when x is 2. So what do we do with that 2?
Turn it into that.
Plug it in for x. Exactly. Right? Y equals 5 times 2 minus 4. What do we get?
10.
Minus 4.
Oh, 6.
6. Okay? Excellent.
What's
Right?
the answer?
Yes. That is it.
So
Right? So it's not that in this objective the math is difficult. It's the verbiage. It's the language. It's seeing find f of 2 and knowing what to do with that. The math isn't all that bad. Right? It's just the vocab. It's the language. Yeah.
what's F?
What?
What's F? Oh,
F?
yeah.
F stands for function notation, but we can also use the letter G. Sometimes you'll see H, right? All that represents is that when it says find f of 2, it's telling you to plug it into the f of x equation.
So F and like G, like all those are like the same thing.
Essentially, yes.
Oh.
Okay? So like if we've got two equations, like here, f of x equals x squared minus 5, and g of x equals 12x plus 10. If I ask you to find f of 4, which equation are you going to be using?
The Y.
The f equation or the g equation for f of 4? F, right? To find g of negative 8, which equation will you be using?
G.
Right. So all it really means, it's a way to identify which equation you are going to be using, or which graph on the corner plane. Okay? Good. This is good. Ask your questions, please. Like I said, this is historically one of the more difficult POs, and so at any point, stop me with your musings. All right. Otherwise, so it says use f of x equals x squared minus 5 and g of x equals 12x plus 10 to find f of 4. Now, right above, we explained what f of 2 meant. It means solve for y when x is 2. So in this case, f of 4 means solve for y when what?
But I thought it's 2.
When x is 4,
Oh.
right? And so we know to use the f of x equation because it is f of 4. So I'm going to write f of x equals x squared minus 5, which is really the same as y equals x squared minus 5, right? Because f of x really just means y. And if I'm finding f of 4, I'm going to replace x with 4. So I get y equals 4 squared minus 5.
It's 11.
It is 11, right? 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 5 is 11. So when x is 4, y equals 11. The directions say write the ordered pair, right? Because what we're doing here is we're finding what ordered pairs, like when x is 4, what does y equal? The ordered pair, 4, 11, because x was 4, y ended up being 11. That ordered pair, if we were to graph that ordered pair would be on the graph. Right? That's what we're really finding here. We're finding ordered pairs that are on the graph. How are we doing so far?
Good.
That's your first one, so if you're stuck, it's fine. Okay. F of negative 3. Which equation are we using here? F. What are we plugging in for x?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. So again, f of x equals x squared minus 5, which is the same thing as y equals x squared minus 5. This time, I want to know what y is when x is negative 3. So y equals negative 3 squared minus 5. Think back to last unit, we talked about the importance of putting that negative number in parentheses when you square it, right? We're squaring x. X is negative, so we have to make sure we square negative 3. What do we get?
4.
Do you have a second on that?
Wait, what did he say?
He said 4.
4?
4.
I got negative 14.
Ah, very good. If you put this in parentheses, and don't write it over here because we're going to fill this in, but if you put this in parentheses, -3 squared minus 5, versus this in without parentheses, the top one gives you 4, which is the correct answer. The bottom one gets you -14. Why would they be different?
Because there's parentheses.
And how does that change things here?
Because it's -6 times -6. But no, it's -3 times -3.
Right. What do parentheses do? They expand the base, right? If we're squaring x and x is a negative number, we've got to have parentheses around the -3, so it takes -3 times -3. Without parentheses, this is -9, because all it does is it takes 3 times 3 and then drops down the negative. That's not what we want. We want -3 times itself. So 4 is what you should get. If you're using a calculator, whenever you square a negative number, it must be put in parentheses. Okay. So y is 4, and we learned that the ordered pair -3, 4 is on the line of that graph. Okay. Questions? Okay. I appreciate your patience. This video is going to be a little bit longer today just because there's a lot of stuff to it, and you staying quiet really, really helps out. The next one, g of 6. Which equation are we using? Tristan? G. And you know that because now it says g of 6. What are we plugging in for x?
6.
You got it, right? So this time, g of x equals 12x plus 10. And again, that's what function notation does. It tells you which equation to use. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to say, which one do I use? It's g of x. Okay? Which g of x is, again, just a fancy name for y equals 12x plus 10. We want to figure out what y is when x equals 6. Right? We replaced x with 6 to get g of 6, so we're going to replace x with 6 in the equation.
Wait, what's the difference between g and f?
Well, they're different equations.
Oh.
F of x is x squared minus 5. G of x is 12x plus 10. Just like up on the coordinate plane, our two graphs were different graphs, right? F of x was the u. G of x was the straight line there. Okay. What do we get? What is y when 6 gets plugged in for x? Yeah. 82. And so what do we learn? What ordered pair is on the graph of this line? When x is 6, y is 82. And your answer should be written in ordered pair form. Okay. Give the last two a try on your own. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do it. Both of them involve the g of x equation, right? So just try to keep that in mind. Yeah, do you have a question?
You simplify?
How would you simplify it?
Like divide them both by 2.
No, they're not a fraction. So you wouldn't simplify. Okay, hold on, Dylan. Yellow. Not super important. I mean, it is math, so yeah. But yes. Yep. Penelope, you're being summoned to the office. Try the last two on your own here. Check your answer with the neighbor.
So you miss your Schultz, you just call your light boring.
What's that?
You just called like your light boring.
Why?
Because you just said math's boring. That's what you do. You teach math.
I didn't say it was boring.
You said, well, you know it's math, so it's boring.
Yeah, she asked if we were doing anything important. And I said no. I said, but it is math. So yes, it's important. I was just making it. I have a good vibe with the office staff. We talk and text more than people know. Nolan.
What's gonna be for homework?
The second page, not all of it, but the top part of the second page, which some we have not talked about yet.
We're not there yet, though.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, so can you hold on?
We're not there yet. G of 0, what you should have done was in the g of x equation, 12x plus 10, replace g of x with y, y equals 12x plus 10. You're plugging in 0 in for x. So 12 times 0 plus 10, which gives you a value of y equals 10, which means your ordered pair, when x is 0, y is 10. 0, 10 should be the answer. Who was successful? Who was unsuccessful and not sure why? Huh? All right, hey, very good. For g of -8, again, the g of x equation. G of x equals 12 times -8 plus 10. Y equals 12 times -8 plus 10. 12 times -8 is -96 plus 10. Y equals -86. So your ordered pair, when x is -8, y is -86. Okay? Are we good? Okay. Because the other thing we can do with function notation is when I give you y, you solve for x, and that's what the second chunk explains down here. Okay. The other thing that you'll see, and this is a key point as well, if you go in a help sheet, it says for f of x equals 2x plus 1, find x when f of x equals 9. Now, the way this is phrased gives you 2 hints as to which variable I am giving you. Right? First of all, if I'm giving you x, would I tell you to then find x? No, that'd be silly, right? Secondly, f of x, remember, it just means y. So what this is really saying, for f of x equals 2x plus 1, find x when y equals 9. Notice I didn't replace x with anything. So I'm not going to be replacing x. I want to find what x is when y equals 9, because remember, f of x just means y. So when you see this, the find x, the f of x equals 9, it means solve for x when y equals 9. That's what that statement means. Do you see the difference between the two things? Right? When I give you x, it's just f of a number because we're replacing x with something. When I give you y, I tell you to find x. When y equals 9, x is not replaced with anything. That's what you want to find. Okay?
So x is not. So you don't know what x is?
Correct. You have to solve it or solve for it, which is not as bad as it might think. Just watch the process first. So practice here. We've got f of x equals 6x plus 8. And g of x equals -10x plus 18. Find x when f of x or y equals 62. Okay? Remember, f of x, g of x, it all just means y. But the reason why we don't write y is because you need to know which equation to use. You're using the f of x equation. So if f of x equals 6x plus 8, which is really the same thing as y equals 6x plus 8, and I tell you that y is 62, you're replacing y with 62. And how would you solve an equation such as that? What is this essentially?
It all backwards.
Well, what type of equation is it?
Operate opposite numbers.
Yeah, it's a two-step equation.
Oh, 2 steps.
Right? Your comfort zone. We've done this before. 62 equals 6x plus 8. What would your first step be using opposite operations? Subtract 8 from both sides. 62 minus 8 is 54. So 54 equals 6x. What would your second step be?
Divide 6 and
Divide by 6 to get x by itself. 54 divided by 6 equals 9. And so 9 is our value for x. Okay? Which means, right, it says write your answer as an ordered pair. X is 9, y is 62. That's what I gave you. The ordered pair 9, 62 is on this graph. Do you need a stretch break or are you doing okay? Doing okay?
Yeah.
Are you saving all your muscles for the soccer game?
No.
Smart.
Well, not
Good. Yeah.
Easy,
Okay.
easy.
yet.
Next one. F of x equals 2. Notice, we did not replace x with anything, so this 2 does not get put in for x in the equation. F of x really just means y. I'm giving you the y value. So, using the f of x equation, f of x equals 6x plus 8, plugging in 2 for y, because remember, f of x just means y. Put in 2 for that. 2 equals 6x plus 8. What type of equation do we have here? Two-step. We got this. We can do this. Again, same. It's even the same steps as the last time. Subtract 8, divide by 6, right? The equation didn't change, just the value for y did. Which means we'll get a different x value here, but the process to solve it, nothing's different. Subtract 8. 2 minus 8, negative 6. Negative 6 equals 6x. Divide both sides by 6 to get x by itself. And negative 1 equals x. Okay? What did we learn? We learned the ordered pair. X is negative 1. That's what we solved for. Y is 2. That's what we were given. Negative 1, 2 is on this line. Any questions? Please don't keep them inside. Okay? Anything you're not getting, it's a high chance you're not the only one.
Can we work out like the second equation?
Yes, go for it. Now we're switching to g of x, so just notice that. Okay? You're using the g of x equation now. But I'm still giving you the y value. All right? So go ahead and finish them out. Do these 3. I'll pause the video. Which button do I think it's this one. Yeah, go ahead and do those 3 and then.
I use the G.
Oh, you good, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, here are the answers for the last 2. Something to point out, make sure you're using the correct equation. The last one switches back to f of x. Make sure you're using the f of x equation. Thank you. Okay. Questions on any of this? Okay. Your homework for Monday, because tomorrow is a retake day, so if you need to focus on con tonight, you can do that instead. But only do these first 6. We're going to talk about the graphs in class on Monday. So answer just these 6. Pay attention. What am I giving you? Right? When it says, what is f of 4? Is that 4 for x, or is that 4 for y? Which variable did I give you? Find f of 4. What does 4 get plugged in for? X or y? What is f of 4? What are you plugging in that 4 in for? Does it go in for x or in for y? You've got a letter followed by a number in parentheses. Take a look at the front side. Which situation is that? Are you plugging 4 in for x or for y?
X?
X.
I said X.
Right? Take a look at the front side. The example said, what is f of 2? And I said that means you solve for y when x equals 2. What is f of 4? It means x equals 4. You take that, you plug it in for x in the equation, and you solve for y. Versus, when I say find x, when y equals 16, now I'm very clearly giving you y. So you need to be able to read these questions carefully, interpret what they're asking you to do, and then do the calculation, do the math after that. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, compliments, congratulations, criticisms.
So it's just this.
Just these 6. Don't cross out the bottom because we'll do that on Monday, but for Monday, just these top 6.
Uh-oh. I put that in my workspace. Yeah.
We're all good?
Yeah.
All right, folks. That was a marathon of video. Thank you. That's how you math.
Don't
Don't
forget
forget to like us